Children are little bundles of joy. You have them, you love them, you give them everything you never had. In return, some of them turn to murder. We continue our countdown from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of Love and Murder, the weekly true crime podcast discussing relationships gone terribly wrong. I am your host, Ky, and our show discusses true crime cases told in the form of a story with mystery, suspense, and I sprinkle a little bit of humor on top. Check out our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts. As I always tell you, we're everywhere. Follow us on social media. The links are in the show notes below, but will be said at the end of the show. If you want to be part of our L&M exclusive community, then join us on Patreon at patreon.com/love and murder. When you join, you get commercial-free episodes of Love and Murder. You get bonus episodes every 2 weeks of Crazy Crime, Florida Crime, behind the scenes, just hearing, me messing up and just whatever behind the scenes going on. You get relationship advice. You get to hear me reading interviews of our murderers and just so much more. We'll talk more about that at the end of the show, but you get amazing content, especially coming up on 2022. You get amazing content if you join us at patreon.com/love and murder. And it is only for $3 a month. If you've listened to our show before, or even at the end of this episode, and you like it, then please head on over to Apple Podcasts, rate us 5 stars, say whatever you want in the description, but what it does, it helps bring us up in the charts, and with your help, we will be ever so grateful. The easiest way to rate Love and Murder is to go to www.murderandlove.com and choose Rate Us in the menu above. Now, continuing on our countdown episodes in the theme of the countdown of 2021 coming up on 2022. Tonight, we're talking about 5 kids who murdered their parents. So last week, we talked about 5 parents who refused to believe that their kids were murderers. If you didn't listen to that, go back and listen to episode number 38, which is called 5 Delusional Parents. And we also talked about Ethan Cromley. So it's actually called 5 Delusional Parents, Ethan Cromley. In that episode, like I said, I told you about the horrible things these people did and then what their parents had to say about it and them. I also gave you details on Ethan Cromley and the latest school shooting. So just listen to episode 38 on whatever platform you're on, or go to our website at www.murderandlove.com and you will find that show there. Also, one of the parents gave an interview and I ended up reading that on our Facebook fan page and our Patreon. So if you want to go ahead and go over to our Facebook fan page, you can get that there. But if you want to join me over on Patreon, then you'll also get a bonus where I talk about a recent case in which a woman shot her boyfriend in front of her 1-year-old child. Yeah. So join me on over there. Now, we're going to go ahead and get started talking about these 5 kids who murdered their parents. So let's get into it. Number 5, John William Mcgrath. John William Mcgrath was born on March 19th, 1944 in Newport, New Hampshire. I so want to go to New Hampshire. I want to visit it. I don't want to live there. I don't think so. It's too far up north, and I think the winters are a little bit too cold. I may be wrong in terms of I may be wrong that I don't want to deal with that cold. I might. I don't know yet. But anyways, I want to visit there. I've seen pictures, and it looks so pretty. Anyway, he was voted class intellectual by his peers in Towle High School. Due to his hard work and his intelligence, his family counted on him to succeed in life and do better than them. So basically what every parent wants for their child. According to John, all of this made him feel pressured and trapped by his family. In response to this stress, on March 10th, 1962, when John was 17, he, one evening, decided to load a high-powered rifle and shoot Charles and Peter, his two younger brothers. One brother, who was 14 years old, John cold-bloodedly shot him in the face. The other brother, who was only 5 years old, well, it wasn't documented how he killed him other than shooting him, which is good because I don't want to hear that. That's disturbing enough. He then sat and waited for his parents to come home. So it sounds to me like he was babysitting. So he was babysitting his brothers who look up to him, and then he just killed them. Then he sat and waited for his parents to come home, and he killed them as well. In the case of his father, he had to chase him out the front door before murdering him on the front lawn. After this, he drove to the closest hospital, which was 45 miles away, and turned himself in. 45 miles away. That's the nearest hospital. Well, the nearest state hospital. So I guess there must have been like private hospitals closer than 45 miles away. I don't know. In 1965, he was found not guilty on the grounds of insanity and was sentenced to a psychiatric hospital. Are you serious right now? I just knew this guy was going to jail. Actually, they found him, quote, insane and mentally deranged, end quote. Damn. I think that's worse than finding him like on the grounds of insanity. I mean, it's the same thing. I know, don't get me wrong. I know. It's the same thing, but it just sounds worse. We find you insane and mentally deranged. Doesn't that sound worse? Anyways, he told a psychiatrist that he didn't feel anything when he went to kill his 5-year-old brother. The only thing he could say he felt was, quote, washed out. Whatever that means. Washed out? Do you think that means like done or like tired of everything? Washed out. What do you think washed out means? I don't know. But anyway, that's what he said he felt, washed out. While in the state hospital, he took math and science classes. He helped to remodel the interior of the hospital and was given more freedom and responsibilities over time. However, as time passed by, he began using drugs and even ended up stealing from the pharmacy. In 1969, he was transferred to a prison that he stayed in for like 3 years. And then in 1972, he was transferred back to the hospital. With good behavior, he was able to have supervised walks on the ground, and he even got rewarded with some freedom. And by that, it means like they didn't have to watch him all the time. So from what I'm gathering here, it looks like the hospital didn't learn anything the first time around when they gave him freedom. So, they gave him more freedom. Hey, what can happen? Or as they say in this cartoon I like to watch, what's the worst that can happen? So then, on August 13, 1974, when he was 30 years old, he escaped from the forensic unit in the hospital and vanished without a trace. Oh, so that's the worst that could happen. And by without a trace, I mean it like literally. They didn't have a DNA profile on him, and all of his close family are dead. The only thing that they have on him are dental records and fingerprints, meaning someone's going to either have to punch a tooth out, pull a tooth out, and hand it to the police, or he would have to have left his fingerprints at a crime scene. And if he's not stupid, that's not happening. So, to this day, they still haven't found him. How freaky is that? Woo! Number 4, Seth Pravicki. Seth Pravicki was born on June 2nd, 1980 in Michigan to Stephen and Linda Pravicki. He was the youngest of 2 children with a brother, Jedediah, who was 1 year older than him. Now, Seth and Stephen never got along. They argued a lot. Probably because they were just too similar. You know how it is. When you have way too much in common with your family member and you love them, but you do not get along with them because you're basically talking to yourself. And, even though you think you're awesome, when you see yourself reflected, you're just like, I don't like that person. As Seth got older, the arguments got worse. His father would, as any good father would, push him to do better in school. And as any teenager, Seth didn't like that. On Sunday, November 29th, 1998, the family decided to have a family-only Thanksgiving type of day. It was planned to be Seth, Stephen, Linda, Jedediah, and their grandfather, who was 78 at the time, and his name was John. At around noon on that day, Seth and his father had yet another argument. I know the mother was like, oh my God, I am going to go take a shower, and if you two don't shut the F up, I'm going to lose my mind. So anyway, they were arguing yet again, and his father told him that, this is it. You're going to have to move out after you graduate from high school this year. Like, I can't take it anymore. Your mom can't take it. You don't want to listen to us. So you know how they say, if you're under my roof, you're going to have to live by the way that I do things. So it's probably that. And his father was like, look, you ain't listening. So after you graduate, you're going to have to leave. I don't know what to tell you. So Seth decided today was a great day to talk to his family about, his feelings, his innermost feelings, what was going on with him, how he felt, just needed to get it out. So he figured this was the best day to do it since, the whole family was going to be there. So at 12:45 p.m., Seth went to his older brother, Jedediah, who was 19 at the time. And, while he was watching TV, Seth came up to him. I'm figuring to, talk to him and tell him like, hey, Jedediah, you've been my age. How did you work through all of this? How did you work through dad always getting on your back and everything like that? I really need this help from my older brother. So, he walked up to his older brother, Jedediah, like I said, who was watching TV at the time, and shot him point blank in the back of the head with a .22. Yeah, that's what he did. Then, if that wasn't enough, he dragged his body over to an area that no one can see it. Then Seth went downstairs and patiently waited for his dad to get home. Not long after this, he heard the key in the door. He stood up and rounded the corner because he was in the living room. So he stood up, rounded the corner, going over to the door, and he stood there looking at the front door. Then when the front door opened, Seth saw that his father and Grandpa John walked in, which he was not expected. So he greeted them, hey, Dad, hey, Grandpa, how are y'all doing? Yeah, Mom's in the shower. She's waiting for us to get all here so she can get the Thanksgiving together and everything like that. And as they walked past him to go further into the house, he shot them both point blank in the back of the head. Grandpa John, though, didn't die immediately, so Seth shot him again. After that, he walked to the bathroom where his mom was taking a shower and getting ready for the family's special day. And as she was getting out of the shower, Seth shot her in the head. Then, as he was coming downstairs, April, who is Jedediah's girlfriend, walked through the front door. And Seth hadn't moved the bodies of his father and his grandfather yet, so they were like right there at the front door. And she saw them. But I guess, I don't know, she didn't process it properly and she thought it was a joke. So she was like, yeah, right, guys. You scared me. Oh, I'm so scared. So anyway, where's the food? Where's Jed? And she continued walking into the house. And as she got into the kitchen, Seth came up behind her and shot her in the head. Good Lord. Oh my God. This guy's deranged. Like, it's horrific enough shooting people, but in the head? Oh my God. This guy's crazy. So anyways, after Seth was finished, he looked around, and not that he looked around and was like, oh my God, what have I done? Oh, my family. No, he was like, crap. I can't clean this all up by myself. Look at the mess. There's brains everywhere, like the blood. They couldn't even die and be clean. Like, this is what he said to himself. So what did he do? What do all our criminals do? They bring the entire town into what they've done. So yeah, he called his friend Stephen Wallace. He told Stephen what had happened and begged him to come over and help him clean up. Now, what do you think his friend said? Listen, let me ask y'all, what would your answer have been? Like, I'm asking y'all, the L&Mers, if your friend had called you and said, hey, look, what's going on? How was your day? Mine, oh, it was so crazy. Let me tell you what happened. Woo! Yeah, so what happened was I killed my whole family, and the house is a mess, and I was wondering if you can come over and help me clean. What would your answer have been? Let me know in the comments below, because I really want to hear this. Me, I probably would have said yes, just so that like he thought I was coming over. And then I'd be like, yeah, no problem. I'll be over there. Oh, I can't believe you did that. You're so crazy. Boy, you so crazy. Yeah, I'll be over there. Give me an hour. I'm going to jump in the shower. I'm going to grab some gloves. And, maybe I'll stop by the dollar store, get some sponges, and I'll be right on over. So just wait. I'll be there. Then as soon as I hang up, I would have called 911 so fast it wouldn't even been funny. Hello, 911. My friend said he killed his whole family. Go arrest that crazy bastard. Hurry. Ma'am, slow down. What did you say? Okay, my friend who lives at 587, get your ass over here, Lane, killed his entire family. He thinks I'm on his way, so he's still there. Go now. That basically would have been my call. They would have played the 911 call on the news, and that would have been my call. So I want to hear what y'all would have said in the comments below. Please let me know, because I really want to hear this. So anyway, he begged Steven to come over and help him clean. And old Stevie boy there said, sure, I'll be right on over. Steven comes over, helps him, wraps the bodies in sheets, and they made plans to bury the bodies later. Now, okay. I know you're wondering why they didn't just take care of everything right there and then. Well, I'm so happy you asked. Well, Steven, you see, good old Stevie boy, had to go to a church youth group party at 6 p.m. before he had to come back and help his friend bury the body of his family. Good Lord. Between 11 p.m. and 12 a.m., Steven actually came back and tried to help Seth bury the bodies. But you know how you get after partying. You've been partying like, party over here. And then, you finish partying after, 3 hours or whatever. No, he got there at 6. So you finish partying around 5-6 hours. You're tired, all that dancing, your feet hurt. So they decided it was too much work to bury the bodies. So they were like, you know what? We're going to stage a robbery. But while they were doing that, a car pulled up into the driveway. Both boys stopped, not knowing who it was or what to do. So Seth, he kind of like, how you do when, I don't know, people are outside and you don't want them knocking on your door or something. So you kind of get down on the floor and suddenly you become a soldier and you start, what do they call it? Low crawling. I don't know what the soldiers call it, but you start doing that. He did that. He got to the window and he climbed up and he peeked out. Oh, who was it? So he peeked through the blinds and he saw April's parents getting out of their car and they were like, oh shit! What do we do? Oh my God! Okay, this is what we gonna do. Run! And they ran out of the house and hid in the woods behind the house. At midnight, the police received a phone call and went out to the Pravicki house. They immediately searched for Seth, but found Steven instead. And, he was like, yeah, I give up. That partying. You don't know how tired I am. So, I'm not going to run. I give up. Yeah. Anyways. At 7:15 a.m., Seth was found hitchhiking by a classmate. I'm going to try and say her name. Genevieve Simonelli. Okay, there it goes. Genevieve Simonelli. That's actually a pretty name, Genevieve. But it's spelled not Genevieve. Janavive. Genevieve. So anyways, she saw him hitchhiking and she picked him up and dropped him off at a friend's house. Once she backed out of the driveway after dropping him off at the friend's house, She did like I would do. 9-1-1. 911? Yes. What is the cause of your call? She was like, yeah, I heard through the grapevine that cops are looking for Seth. I just found him. Just dropped him off over here. And yeah, send police. So police came to find Seth hiding in the barn because the friend that she dropped him off at his house, the friend wasn't even home. So Seth was like, oh, crap. And he just looked around for a place to stay till his friend got home. So he went in the barn. So the cops found him hiding in the barn and arrested him. And he confessed to the murders. Both him and Stephen are charged with 5 counts of open murder. Wait, why was Stephen charged? I would think he would get like accessory or something, right? Don't you think so? Okay. Here it is. Stephen's charges were later reduced to accessory to murder. Okay, that sounds like what I was thinking. Anyways, I guess during the investigation, they realized that he didn't actually help with the murder, but he was trying to help, bury the body. So yeah, that sounds about right. On May 27th, 1999, Stephen is sentenced to 5 life sentences without the possibility of parole. He'd pled... What do you think he pled? Let's say it together. My L&Mers. What do you think he pled? 1, 2, 3. Psych. He actually pled no contest. Stephen was acquitted by a jury on November 1st, 1999. Wait, what? Why would they acquit him? Okay, so they acquitted him of the crime. Oh, wow. Anyways, then... Good Lord, I can't get over this. Stephen went on to have a colorful life of crime, stolen property, vandalism, 3 different charges of domestic violence, and attempted resisting and obstructing police. On October 30th, 2007, Stephen violated his probation and was sentenced to 28 months to 2.5 years in prison. What in the world is going on here? On July 15th, 2010, Stephen tried to escape from Kinross Correctional Facility in Michigan's Upper Peninsula. During his escape attempt, he was shot and killed. This is bizarre. Oh my God. So he killed his family. He didn't go to prison for that. He had a clean slate. He decided that wasn't enough, so he did all this crap, still didn't go to prison. He got probation. He violated his probation, went to prison for only, he would have been there max 2.5 years for everything he's done. He would have been there for max 2.5 years. He was like, I can't take this. Let me out. And he tried to escape and he was killed. Dude, oh my God. Anyway, there's an interview transcript that I'm going to read on my Patreon. So if you want to hear this, subscribe to my Patreon at www.patreon.com/loveandmurder. Shameless plug. If you want to hear a sample of my recounting this interview, if you want to hear one that I've already done, just so you can know how the interviews go, you can head on over to my Facebook fan group and you can hear an interview that I've already read. Just search Love and Murder fan page on Facebook or Google and you'll find it right there. Ask to join and you'll hear another interview that I've read before. So that was Seth Prevecki. Number 3. Christopher Porco. On November 15th, 2004, a 52-year-old Peter Porco and his wife Joan Porco were found covered in blood with massive head trauma in their blood-drenched bed. Peter was dead, but Joan was still alive. The weapon, which was an axe, was found in the bedroom. Bethlehem investigators looked into the couple's youngest son, Christopher Porco, who was born on July 9th, 1983 in Albany, New York. Christopher was a student at the University of Rochester, where he had been when his parents were found, 230 miles away. He said he'd only learned about the crime from a reporter, and he rushed to his parents' house on the same evening, which, who wouldn't? If I heard that something happened to my parents, I'm rushing down there. And I live I couldn't even tell you, 1,000 miles away maybe. I don't know. I know it in hours. Don't judge me. Anyways, while investigating, police realized that Chris had a history of antisocial behavior, and robbing his parents' home. They also noticed eBay fraud in which Chris had two accounts. People purchased their items, but he never sent anything out to them. They also found that he'd staged a robbery, stolen his parents' laptop, and sold it on eBay. They also found that he pretended to be his brother and sent emails to these eBay customers telling them that Chris had died and was unable to deliver the customers' items. Wow. On November 15th, 2004, during the trial testimony, it showed that the code was used to disable the security alarm and that the phone line had been cut. This was all done to be able to make the crime look like a home invasion and a burglary. It also came out that there had been tension between Chris and his parents regarding money. I just saw the progression there in all this 5 seconds that I've been, telling y'all this. He was failing in school and forged a transcript to be readmitted to University of Rochester. I forged my mom's name once in grade school. I got in so much trouble. I had to write. And I think I told y'all this before. I had to write 100 times. I will not forge. I can't remember exactly, but I will not forge, and it had the word conscious in it because that's how I learned to spell conscious. And I had to do that 100 times for like a month. And to this day, I don't sign people's names. I don't care how much permission they give me. I don't sign people's names. So I guess that punishment was fitting and it worked. But anyway, he forged a transcript and he got readmitted to U of R. Before bad grades had made him leave school, he'd actually taken out a loan to pay for school and to buy a new Jeep. When he got readmitted, he took out another loan for $31,000 and forged his father's name as a cosigner. Oh my God. But I thought cosigners had to be right there in front of the third party while signing. Am I wrong? I thought they had to be there. So how can you forge a cosigner's name? Unless you do something like Home Alone when he's like, my mom's in the car and she'll be right on in, and wait for the person to turn their head and then he signs it. Oh, you just missed her. Soon as you turned your head, she ran in, signed her name, and then she had to get her purse out of the car because she forgot it. I don't know. I don't know how you would forge somebody's name when you're co-signing. Anyways, 2 weeks before he was found dead, Peter had sent Chris an email that read, quote, "Did you forge my signature as a cosigner? What the hell are you doing? You should have called me to discuss it. I'm calling Citibank this morning to find out what you have done, and I'm going to tell them that I'm not to be on it as a cosigner." End quote. The next day, Peter found out that Chris had used his name to pay for his Jeep as well. Once again, he sent an email. By the way, he'd actually been calling his son this whole time, but, he wasn't answering. Chris was just like, I'm just ignore, even though probably they were paying for his phone bill too. So he sent him an email, and the email said, quote, "I want you to know that if you abuse my credit again, I will be forced to file forgery affidavits in order to disclaim liability, and that applies to the Citibank college loan if you attempt to reactivate it or use my credit to obtain any other loan. We may be disappointed with you, but your mother and I still love you and care about your future." End quote. That sounds like a reasonable, loving parent. That doesn't sound like, I'm going to bash your head in if you do this. He sounded like reasonable. I don't even understand. I cannot. Anyway, let's continue. In continuing the investigation, police found that a New York State Thruway toll collector outside of Rochester said that a yellow Jeep Wrangler, which is the same color, make, and model of Chris's car, had gone through the toll on November 14th at 10:45 p.m. On November 15th, just before 2 a.m., a toll collector in Albany saw a yellow Jeep Wrangler going through the toll at what he called excessive speed, And at the university, 4 security cameras recorded that same Jeep leaving campus at 10:30 p.m. on November 14th and then returning at 8:30 a.m. on November 15th. Now, during the trial, a neighbor said, they came up as a witness and they said that they witnessed the same Jeep in the Porco's driveway on the evening of November 14th. Now, when Joanne was gravely hurt at her home, the medical personnel attended to her asked her if she knew who attacked her, and she nodded her head. Remember, though, at that time her head had been bashed in. Now, when I say bashed in, I mean so badly that she lost an eye. That's how bad her head was bashed in. So the EMT asked her if it was a family member who did this to her, and she nodded yes. And they asked it was it your older son? And she shook her head no. And they said, was it your younger son? And she nodded her head yes. However, sometime later, after she was awakened from a medically induced coma, she said that she couldn't remember the attack or her attacker and said there is no way that her son did this. Now, I wouldn't label her, like in our last show, those crazy parents who won't listen to their, people. I won't label her as that because she did have severe brain issues. And then you wake up to find your whole family's dead and you can't remember what happened on that night. So I relate that to trauma, and I think just denial. I won't call her one of those crazy parents. She's just traumatized and she's in denial. So I actually think the court should go with what she said before, what the EMT said before. But I'm wondering if it's because it's a third party and it's not like they didn't have it on video. It was just his word who said, this guy said this is what she said. So maybe this is why they can't go with it. I'm not really sure. But I think they should go with what she said before. Before her trauma took over and before she had surgery and before she was put into a coma. I think they should go with what she said before. So the official trial began on June 27th, 2006 in Orange County due to the media coverage that was going on in Albany. On the morning of August 10th, 2006, the jury began deliberating. In the evening on the same day, Chris was found guilty of second-degree murder and attempted murder. On December 12, 2006, he was sentenced to a minimum of 50 years in prison. 50 years, that's it? Well, I guess a minimum, whatever. He will be eligible for parole in December of 2052. The judge in the trial, Judge Jeffrey Berry, said, quote, I fear very much what happened in the early morning hours of November 15 is something that could happen again, end quote. Christopher Porco is currently at the Clinton Correctional Facility. Quick question, as in Bill and Hillary Clinton? Number 2, Jasmine Richardson. This one is going to be short due to the nature of it. There's not that much backstory information. Jasmine Richardson is from Medicine Hat, Alberta, Canada, and was 12 at the time of this story. While in school in 2005, she got into goth and started hanging with that kind of crowd. As you can imagine, she started wearing black and dressing like what she perceived as goth. Students became scared of her due to her actions, and teachers would try to counsel her on her actions. At the age of 12, so what grade is that? Like 6th grade, 5th grade? I can't remember. Like 5th, 6th grade. So at the age of 12 in January 2006, she met a man, you heard me, a man who was 23 years old, and his name was Jeremy Allen Steinke. They began what they called a relationship between a 23-year-old and a 12-year-old. Her family and friends didn't approve of who she decided to be with. I mean, yeah, as anyone could imagine. Duh. Jeremy Allen Steinke had a history of violence and apparently had more in common with a 12-year-old than anyone his own age. At one point in time, he told his friends that he wasn't human. No. Okay. This is what, okay. Let me explain to you. What you see might be human, but you have to understand, by the light of the full moon, he said he becomes something else. He was actually a 300-year-old werewolf who always wore a vial of blood around his neck and liked the taste of blood. I mean, of course, if you're a wolf, wouldn't you like the taste of blood? I don't think I've seen wolves wearing it around their necks, though, but I know they like the taste of it. Anyway, Jasmine's parents forbade her from seeing Jeremy. So the two of them just found a way around this and started talking online on a site called vampirefreaks.com. One night, Jasmine and her friends were all hanging together and they watched a movie called Natural Born Killers. Have y'all seen this movie? I haven't seen this movie. I might have to search it in my Netflix and put it in my list. But before I do that, if y'all could tell me, is the movie any good? Is it worth me searching it and putting it in my Netflix list? Let me know in the comments below. Anyway, they watched this movie, which is about two people who are in love and what they felt they had to do so like they could be together. So what they felt was the boyfriend felt that he had to kill the girlfriend's parents so that she could leave and come live with him. So instead of just being like, leave and come live with me, you figured you would put one more step in there? I mean, I guess it's a movie, so I don't know. Jeremy, on the other hand, told his friends that this was him and Jasmine. They should go and do something like this. Sounds rational, right? On the night of April 21st, 2006, Jasmine emailed Jeremy talking about a plan to kill her parents. Oh my God. So if it's not text message, phone calls, they're emailing about their plans now. Anyway, she ended the email with saying that she would be with Jeremy forever. XOXO Jeremy. Jeremy, 23-year-old Jeremy, agreed to the plan and they went to bed. On the night of April 22nd, 2006, Jasmine and her family went to bed as usual. Jasmine's parents, Mark and Deborah, were awakened by a noise. They got out of bed and looked around the house. Checked upstairs, they checked downstairs, nothing. Well, Mark decided to be an extra vigilant, good father and husband and checked the basement. And Deborah was like, no. You just keep checking around here. We didn't get the kitchen, so go check in the kitchen and I'll go check in the basement. And so Deborah went downstairs, and that's when Jeremy began stabbing the mess out of her. And when Mark heard Deborah screaming, he ran down to the basement, saw Jeremy stabbing her, and began fighting him. He attacked him with a screwdriver, but Jeremy stabbed him to death. Jasmine then ran into her 8-year-old brother's room, and Jeremy met her there. Jacob, the 8-year-old brother, said, "I'm scared. I'm too young to die." Then Jasmine stabbed him in the chest and Jeremy slit his throat. The F. The next morning, the 6-year-old neighbor came over to play with Jacob. He knocked on the door, rang the doorbell. You know how kids do. Bling, 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 bling. Bling, 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 bling. Anybody home? I just want to play with Jacob. Bling, 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 bling. And, he probably sat out there for a little while and nobody answered. So he looked through the window and he saw the bodies of the Richardson parents. And he hauled ass back to his house. At 1 p.m., police showed up and initially they thought the entire family had been murdered. But when they saw a family photo, they saw that one person was missing, and that was Jasmine. In their investigation into the murder and the missing girl, they arrived at her school and at her locker. Inside her locker, they found a drawing of a girl lighting her house on fire and running out to her boyfriend's truck. Like, what in the... Okay. Anyways, so this drawing is what turned Jasmine from lost victim into suspect number 1. Police found both Jasmine and Jeremy in Leader, Saskatchewan. I'm sorry, that's hard to say. Saskatchewan. I like the word. Anyways, they found them in Leader, Saskatchewan. They were arrested and charged with 3 counts of murder. Police also charged Casey Lancaster, which is Jeremy's 19-year-old friend, with accessory to murder because she had driven them out to lead her and helped them to destroy evidence. Why? There's not a friend on this planet that will call me and say, hey, I just murdered my whole family. Come help me. No. If you're listening to my podcast, friend, no, I'm not the one you call. I will. What will Ky do? Sing like a bird. I will tell everything. It is not I that you should call for help. On July 7th, 2007, Jasmine was convicted of 3 counts of first-degree murder. On November 8th, 2007, she was sentenced to 10 years in prison. So between July and November, she was convicted and then sentenced. The system. Anyways, so after all she did, she was sentenced to only 10 years in prison, which was the maximum penalty for her age. Remember, she was only 12 at that time, and this is the maximum you can give a minor at that time in Canada. And to me, personally, I call bullshit. Anyway, her sentence included 18 months already spent in custody, 4 years in a psychiatric rehabilitation, along with 4.5 years of house arrest. That's all she got for stabbing an 8-year-old. At 12 years old, she was the youngest person in Canada to have ever been convicted of multiple murders. Under the Youth Criminal Justice Act in Canada, which came into effect on April 1st, 2003, so that young people can be held responsible for their crimes they've committed by age 12, the child's name couldn't be released to the public, and anyone convicted under the age of 14 couldn't be sentenced as adults and could not be given more than a 10-year sentence. That's insane. I don't even know what to say about that. I think this should be on a case-by-case basis. So it seems to me like no matter what someone under the age of 14 does, they can only get 10 years. She stabbed her 8-year-old brother in the chest and watched while someone else slit his throat. And they're like, the only thing she could get is 10 years. I don't understand. Anyways. On December 15th, 2008, Jeremy was found guilty on 3 counts of murder and sentenced to 3 life sentences. Remember, he was 23, so yeah. He did the same thing she did, but he got 3 life sentences and she got 10 years. He'll be eligible for parole in 25 years. Parole? He slit an 8-year-old boy's throat. What am I missing here? Parole? Now, as for Casey, the charges were dropped against her, but she did plead guilty to an obstruction charge. She ended up getting 1 year on house arrest and an order to stay away from drugs and alcohol. After being arrested, the proposal of a lifetime. Jeremy proposed to Jasmine. Oh, Jasmine, will you and your 12-year-old self marry me? And she said yes, because I love you, Jeremy. Ugh. Jasmine was released from the psychiatric institution in 2011. It was reported that her rehabilitation was going well and that she even felt remorse for what she did and from what happened. Now, I'm going to say I read 2 different things. Some people said it was going well and she did feel remorse. Some people said it didn't do any difference and she felt nothing. So I don't know which one it is. On January 11th, 2012, Jeremy officially changed his name to Jackson May. May is his mother's maiden name. But Jackson May or Jeremy Steinke or whatever is still incarcerated and is currently 39 years old. Jasmine's mandatory supervision was lifted on May 6, 2016, and her sentence has been completed. She's currently 27 years old and lives a secretive life in Canada. Number 1, William James Bresnahan Jr. On August 4th, 1964, a hiker happened upon 2 bodies at a campsite. They alerted authorities, and during the investigation, it was found that the bodies belonged to Dr. William Bresnahan Sr. and Laurel Bresnahan of Colorado. The Bresnahans had a 16-year-old son who couldn't be found. However, once located, he confessed to the murder of his parents. Junior, we'll call him, told authorities that his parents were abusive and, while camping, he and his mother had gotten into an argument. During the heated exchange, he stabbed her to death. Wait, that went left? You were arguing with your mom and you were just like, yeah, we were arguing and I just stabbed her. Oh, okay. He then went and told his father what he'd done and then beat him to death. Okay, so that one went right. So you stabbed your mother to death after arguing with her. Then you went to tell your father what you did, probably for some help, and then you just beat him to death. Okay, let's continue. On August 8th, 1964, Junior was arrested and charged with 2 counts of murder. During his trial, he pled, our first love and murder plea since this episode started. So, what do you think he pled, family? He pled, let's say it, not guilty twice by reason of insanity. During the trial, he was examined by 3 doctors who each reported that, yeah, he was confused. Yeah, he was emotionally disturbed. But yeah, he was sane. Good try, though. On August 24th, he withdrew his not guilty pleas and pled guilty to first-degree murder. You did? On January 27th, 1965, he was sentenced to life in prison for each murder. While in prison, Junior tried to escape once, but that attempt failed miserably. On March 24th, 1966, he appealed his guilty pleas to each murder, stating that the pleas were not voluntary. The court threw out the appeal and told him to keep your butt in prison, sir. In 1970, Junior began taking courses from the University of Colorado and graduated top of his class with a 4.0 GPA in 1974. In Governor Richard Lamb's opinion, this was proof enough that he was trying to turn his life around, and in 1975, he commuted his life sentence to 24 years. Okay. In 1977, Junior was paroled, and in 1978 was accepted to the University of Colorado's medical school. This isn't going the way I saw it going. 4 years later, he graduated. In 1983, he obtained his medical license and began a medical career treating migrant workers at a clinic in California. In 1987, he received an unconditional pardon from Governor Roy Romer. Oh my God. According to encyclopedia.com, an unconditional pardon is the same as a full pardon, meaning it, quote, fully restores an individual's civil rights forfeited upon conviction of a crime and restores the person's innocence as though he or she had never committed a crime, end quote. Good Lord. I mean, what did they see in this guy to completely just absolve him of his crimes? I'm just curious. That went from, this one took turns from the beginning to the end. Wow. Surprise, surprise. I have a bonus for y'all. Bonus. David Brahm. David Brahm was born on October 3rd, 1971 in Cascade Township, Minnesota. Oh yeah, he was born in Minnesota. You betcha. Sorry, I had to try. You know me and my quote-unquote accents. Anyway, fast forward to the good old teen years that I'm going through right now with my dear daughter. Yes, I'm going crazy. Anyways, on February 18th, 1988, during the early evening, police were called to the Brahm Home. The call originated from the principal at Lourdes Roman Catholic High School. There, they discovered the bodies of 4 people, parents Bernard and Paulette, and children 14-year-old Diane and 9-year-old Richard. All 4 victims had gashes to the head and the upper body. Upon further investigation into the house, police found a blood-stained axe in the basement. However, they couldn't find two other children that belonged to the Brahms, and that was 16-year-old David and 18-year-old Joe. At first, they were concerned that maybe they had fled the scene of a home invasion, but during the investigation, they learned of a rumor that David had told another student that he had killed his entire family that morning. Police located this friend and the rumor was confirmed. The friend told investigators that David did tell her this. She said that on the way to school, David stopped her and tried to convince her to skip school with him. She said, quote, "He said he hit his dad with an axe. He kept hitting his dad and his dad kept on getting up," end quote. She said that when she saw him that morning, he had dyed his hair black, shaved, and spiked his head in the form of a mohawk. According to David, him and his father were arguing on the night of February 17th. His family was strict in the Catholic faith, and his father didn't approve of the music David chose to listen to. Instead of going to sleep after the argument, David stayed awake until 3 a.m., stewing about his parents and how unfair he felt his life was. Instead of realizing that all he had to do was get through 2 more years of school until he graduated, and then he could just move out. Instead of realizing that, he went to the basement and got an axe that his father had down there. He took this axe to his parents' bedroom and killed his father first. Then he turned his anger to his mother and killed her. He then went to his little brother's room and murdered him as well. Now, upon exiting his brother's room, he saw his little sister standing over his mother's body in the hallway. Apparently, his mother hadn't died like he thought and had crawled out of the room, probably trying to protect her children. David attacked and killed them both. Police apprehended David on February 19th at a payphone near the town's post office. So, for our younger listeners, a payphone is, they used to have these phones outside just sitting on the street. It was like in a booth, like you see, the old Superman movies. He used to fly in there and change his clothes and then fly it out Superman. Yeah, that's a payphone before there were cell phones. So apparently he was at a payphone outside the town's post office, and he was calling somebody, probably a friend, to come help him out. And he was arrested and charged with 4 counts of first-degree murder and 8 counts of second-degree murder. At first, he was put in the juvenile court system because he was only 16 at the time. But due to the severity of his crimes, he was sent to the adult judicial system. Initially, David did not enter a plea and was forced to undergo psychiatric examination and was held under a 24-hour watch at the county jail. Later, he entered a plea. David pled. What do you think he pled, L&M fams? Let's say it together, shall we? Not guilty. Yes. By way of insanity and mental illness. During the trial, it showed that David was severely depressed at the time of the crime and that he had attempted suicide twice. Friends also testified that he had spoken about killing his family for 6 months. It also emerged that the total amount of blows from the axe to kill almost his entire family was 56. He hit his family a total of 56 times. Good Lord. The jury rejected his plea of insanity. On October 3rd, 1989, on David's 18th birthday, the jury convicted him of 4 counts of first-degree murder. He was sentenced to 3 consecutive life terms and won't be eligible for parole until he turns 80. Happy birthday? By the way, the only reason David's older brother wasn't killed along with the rest of the family is because he didn't live at home. He was also never a suspect because he'd had a solid alibi and only David's prints were all over the murder weapon. And those are the stories of John William Mcgrath, Seth Pravicki, Christopher Porco, Jasmine Richardson, William James Bresnahan Jr., and our bonus David Brahm. So, what did y'all think of this end of year countdown? First, parents who won't believe their kids' guilt, and then spoiled kids who selfishly kill their parents. I do want to thank each and every one of you for your support in 2021. Next week, there won't be a show. However, Love and Murder will return in 2022 with an all-new season, all-new show, and all new cases. If you have cases you want to hear in New Year, be sure to email me at noconductradio@gmail.com or DM me at any of our social media links that I'm about to give you. You'll want to join me in Patreon in 2022. I know I keep beating y'all in the head with this Patreon thing, but you'll want to join me over there. You will get so many exciting bonuses over there, and it is only $3 a month. Join us while this price is still that low. You will get commercial-free episodes of Love and Murder, because, right now you're listening to one that has commercials in it. I have to get paid. I got bills to pay, man. So you'll get commercial-free episodes of Love and Murder. You'll get behind the scenes of Love and Murder. Like in this case, how many times it took me to say this guy's last name, Bresnahan. You'll be able to hear me trying to say Bresnahan in the behind the scenes. You will get me reading interviews of the murderer or their loved ones giving their crazy interviews. You'll get crazy crime cases, and you'll get so much more. All of this for only $3 a month. Go to patreon.com/love and murder to join the family over there. If you're not ready to join us at Patreon yet, then join us in our Facebook fan page. Just search either Google or Facebook for Love and Murder fan page and hit join. There's still some extras that you get over there as well that you just won't get on the open social media market. So if you like this episode, go to Apple Podcasts, or did you know that Spotify, you can rate us in Spotify now. So go to wherever you get your podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever, and give us 5 stars. You can say whatever you want in the description, but this helps bring us up in the charts and helps your friend and other people who love true crime to find us easily. Follow us on social media, Facebook.com/relationship crime, Instagram at Love Murder Podcast, our Facebook fan group, like I keep telling y'all, Love and Murder fan page. Just search that in Facebook or Google. And we have merch. Just go to www.murderandlove.com and click on our shop in the menu at the top of the page. Once again, thank you so much for all your support in 2021. It is so much appreciated. Our show did so much better than I thought it would this year, and I can only thank y'all for your support. It is y'all who helped this show. You can also support us for free by sharing this episode with your friend. Just simply hit share on this podcast, on this episode, and share it to any of your social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whatever. Share it to email, share it to WhatsApp, share it to text. Share. Once again, thank you for joining us. See you all in 2022. Stay safe out there. And remember, it is always all love and no murder, y'all. Peace out in 2021. See you in 2022.